Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. In case you missed it, the Amazon DLC for Total War Troy was just announced today, and of course I'm here to help you break down the trailer while providing a bit of background information on the two new playable Amazonian factions. So without wasting any more time, let's first check out this brand new trailer together.
Peggy 16.
What is the nature of an Amazon? We've been hunting together so long. For honor. For redemption. Connected as much by the blood in our veins as by the blood we shed. For an Amazon, yesterday's only a myth. And tomorrow is just a prophecy. Today is war. And we are the hunters!
So, from the trailer, we can clearly spot two new epic heroes in Hippolyta and Pentathalia, who will each lead a playable Amazon faction in the upcoming Amazon DLC for Total War Troy. And before we dive into their backstories of these two warrior queens and introduce some of their in-game mechanics, I need to emphasize that this DLC will be released on September 24th, or just a week away from today. And not only will it be released soon, it will also be free to claim for anyone who has linked their Total War Access account to the Epic Game Store. For those of you who are not familiar with Total War Access, it is an online account that you can sign up for free with Creative Assembly, and through this account you can gain tons of free goodies like wallpapers, soundtracks, and other neat things related to your favorite Total War franchises. And I'll be linking their website in the description below, so if you don't have an account yet, definitely consider getting one, as it will also make this upcoming DLC free to claim for a period of 2 weeks after the release date. Now, with that announcement out of the way, let's talk about these two new factions, starting with Hippolyta, who is the older sister of Pentathalia. Now, many of you might be already familiar with Hippolyta due to other things in popular culture like DC Comics, because Hippolyta is the mother of Wonder Woman and the queen of the Amazons in the DC universe. And in ancient Greek mythology, she is the daughter of Otera and Ari. So her father is actually the god of war, which is why you can often see the Amazons referred to as the daughter of Ari. Now, her mother, Otera, is actually the founder of the Amazons, as she was this simple housewife who trained herself to use a sword and bow after suffering from domestic abuse. Then, after killing her husband, she trained other women in similar situations, and they collectively rebelled against their male counterparts and eventually formed the Amazons, which is a term that the Greek used to describe this group of female warriors, as the word Amazos means without a breast, since it was rumored that the Amazon archers would cut off one of their breasts as they got in the way of using their bow. But as you can see from this artwork of Hippolyta, this is simply a rumor. Now, in the beginning days of the Amazons, they largely prayed to Ares in order to receive his blessings in battle. So they had built this big altar around this giant meteor, and this eventually caught Ares' attention as he descended upon the Amazons and took their leader, Otera, as his first human consort. And from their union came 3 daughters that included the likes of Hippolyta and Pentathalia. And Hippolyta, being the oldest daughter, will eventually go on to inherit the title of the Queens of the Amazons after her mother's death. But despite her fame and appearances in many legends, such as those of Hercules with his 12th labor, and Theseus with him killing the Minotaur, and even in Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, Hippolyta was actually long dead by the time of the Trojan War, so technically she should not be here, as Penthesilea was actually the one who had led the Amazon forces to come and aid Troy. But since time and death are both missing concepts in Total War Troy, the game, let's look past this and actually take a look at how Hippolyta's faction will play in the game. So since the game was just announced today, and there is still an embargo until Saturday, when I can first show gameplay, there will be a lot of information that I cannot share, even though I already have access to the game and know quite a bit of these. But here's the public information that I can share. Hippolyta will be given the title of the High Queen of the Amazons in the game, matching her historical status. She is going to be tasked with rebuilding the Amazon kingdom as the Achaeans, or the Greek, have sacked their ancient capital about 15 years before the start of the Trojan War. So you'll be tasked with restarting the Amazonian nation, and thus your faction mechanic will be something called Amazon Kingdom. And you have another faction mechanic called Rites of the Initiation, which is shared between all Amazon factions, and in this case, it will be between Hippolyta and her sister, Penthesilea. And Rites of Initiation has to do with the method that the Amazonian factions will use to rank up their units. And more of this will come as we can show gameplay starting this Saturday. And in terms of how Hippolyta would play in the game, her faction unique units will be mainly defensive units. You have renowned Amazon archers, heavier sword infantry for your front line, and some light horse archers that can run in circles around the enemy and harass. So a lot of range and defensive builds, and you can see here from the image, Hippolyta will be an archer hero. So all these will play a factor in how you would build her faction, and she will play similar to the old Greek and Trojan factions in that you'll be building your kingdom, you'll be managing land, as we have to go to her younger sister for a brand new playstyle. And Penthesilea, if we are going to first cover her background a little bit, is the younger sibling of Hippolyta. She had a name change. She was called Melithius before, but the death of one of their other sisters caused her a lot of grief, and she changed her name to Penthesilea, which I believe means a great grief. And she is cursed by Aphrodite in that she is basically going to be violated by any man she runs into. Well, the good news is the Amazonian factions are all female, but the bad news is she had to dress herself up as a man to prevent that. And she is more of the warring faction. And because King Priam in his younger days fought with the Amazons and beat them and had a truce with them, or a pact, that when Troy was being attacked by the Greeks or the Achaeans, the Amazons were called on to help and honor their pact, and Penthesilea led the forces to arrive at the city of Troy and help turn the battle for a little bit before ultimately being killed by Achilles. And after Achilles have killed her and removed her helmet to realize that she is female and take a look upon her face, the curse from Aphrodite became active and Achilles violated Penthesilea's dead body. Not very kind stories from Greek mythology. But Achilles had to go to the island of Lesbos and cleanse himself afterward. But nevertheless, Penthesilea did play a role in the epic cycle and the poems and the story of the 10-year siege of Troy, but in the earlier period, not really in the last few days that's covered in the Iliad. So that's why she doesn't really appear that much there, but she does have a role in the conflict. Now, back to how she plays in game. So Penthesilea will be given the title the Warrior Queen in the game, and she will be a Horde faction. So for those of you who have never played any Warhammer games, Horde factions are factions that will own no land. And you will still have some buildings as part of your moving army in terms of war tents or specialized buildings. So you can still have some buildings. And the main economy or the main ways for you to grow as a faction will be to taking down settlements and raising them to the ground for their resources. So that's why she will also have a unique mechanic called War Spoils, which will give you various different type of bonuses from units to favors from the gods to resources. And that's the way you will manage your economy, by wiping out enemy factions. So you'll be playing as a war style type of gameplay, very interesting, and probably the one that I'm going to be launching our first Let's Play once this DLC drops. And to complement her army, she will have some unique unit that will fit her playstyle. A two-handed axe infantry featuring offense, skirmishers for ambushes and also to whittle down the enemy with your javelins, and then some heavy charging cavalry versus the light archer cavalry variant by her sister. So you'll be a much more aggressive type of general and faction. And her other faction mechanics are Rites of Initiation, which is shared, and this is simply a gameplay mechanic for the Amazon of how they rank up their units. And then the Blood Oath. So we don't know much about Blood Oath, and it's not public information yet, so I can't share too much. But if we take a look at a different game that Total War has in terms of their franchise, in Total War Elysium, which I have been showcasing quite a bit on the channel, we know that Penthesilea has been a new general that has been introduced in that game, and from that game we can see some of the shared art between the two games, and we can kind of deduce some of these changes. So here we can see that Penthesilea as a general in the game Total War Elysium, which is a collectible card game, and her signature card or passive ability card in the game is called Blood Oath, which brings back a unit with 1 health. So it's kind of like a reinforcement style, and that's probably what's going to happen, as Horde factions tend to lack units as you can't get multiple stacks. So I'm guessing in the game, Blood Oath will be a function where you can gain more troops to help you in fights. And then we can see a couple units that's definitely going to be shared between the two games as the artwork largely match up. As you have the Amazon unit, and clearly from the artwork we can see that this is a two-handed axe female warrior, lightly armored, ready to battle. And then we have something that's more heavily armored and definitely a more high-end unit in the Daughter of Ari, which we talked about is a reference to the fact that these sisters are actually Daughter of Ari, and something that most Amazons are referred to. And here we have artwork for that with a very cool looking Bronze Age helmet. And we're going to see these units in the game, I'm pretty sure. Now, we just have to wait for about a day, because on Saturday we'll be able to showcase gameplay, and my plans will be quite similar to most DLC releases. We'll take a look at everything new in the game, different reform mechanics, new buildings added, all these faction mechanics, as well as the start of these two factions on the game map. We'll play a few turns to showcase them, and by the time we're done and the game is released on the 24th, we'll be starting a new campaign. And right now, I'm thinking about playing as Penthesilea, the one army horde faction that we can use to bring down the enemy Greek factions and Trojan factions and whoever we don't like. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that, and can't wait to actually play the game. So see you guys then. Bye.